could you, tell us about the impact that the pandemic has had on your passenger numbers and the measures that, you have taken as an airport to protect your revenues and business operations?
It's, it won't be a surprise to you or to everybody on the call to know that it's had a devastating impact on our revenue and our passenger numbers. Muscat International Airport would see 75 to 80,000 passengers a day, 450 to 500 air traffic movements per day. As we sit here today, we've got an average of maybe 7,000 passengers per day, so that's only 10% of normal, with only 40 to 50 air traffic movements per day. So the impact on our business in terms of financial performance and our revenue has been devastating, absolutely devastating. And it fell off a cliff like that. I suppose we were lucky in 2020 that we had two really strong months in January and February, and March was only about 70% down, 30% down on 2019 numbers. So with a decent start to the year in terms of the first couple of months. So financially, we're still okay as an organisation. I've obviously got many friends in the industry, and you look at what's been going on and some of the announcements about people losing their jobs and the losses at some of the big European airports. It's devastating for the industry. What have we done to try and reduce our operating costs and protect some of our revenue? We've sat, the Chief Commercial Officer with our CEO has sat with the airline community, try to give them a little bit of support in terms of their operating costs into the airports, in terms of airport charges, landing charges, baggage and passenger fees, etc. So try to give a little bit of respite in that area. That in itself has not necessarily protected or even saved any of our revenue, but it's a decision taken for the medium to long term viability of the business to attract the airlines and keep the airlines operating into our airports. That's important. But as the COO, my divisions are primarily cost centres. So we looked at every single contract that we had, from small contracts of maybe $20,000 a month to multi-million-dollar per month contracts that we have in place. We talked to all those suppliers. We asked for reductions. We said the KPIs we will drop in terms of the target KPI and the service level agreements to a standard that was satisfactory to us in terms of maintaining the level of standard and service that we still expect. We looked at how we could reduce our utilities bills as well in terms of electricity, water, sewage. There's not much need for heating in the Middle East, as you know. So we looked at how we could really do some, make efficiencies with our utilities. The manpower side of things is something that in the Omani labour law, the Omani employees are protected. We did lose a number of our expatriate colleagues, sadly, due to the drop in business and the need for reduction in our staff costs. So, in summary, we, from a revenue perspective, it's been devastating. We're doing as much as we possibly can to try and support our airlines, who are our key customers, working with our concessionaires to ensure that a level of service with retail, food and beverage, duty free, etc., is still maintained, but we can still offer a service to the passengers who are travelling through the airports. From a cost perspective, managing every single one of our contracts, reviewing the costs, reviewing the SLAs and KPIs, as well at the same time looking at our utilities, bills and costs. And as I say, manpower-wise, just try and, complete manpower freeze and try to reduce where possible and restructure our organisational departments, certainly operational, to try and reduce the number of people on shift, whilst at the same time improving the efficiencies and doing some continuous improvement activities to ensure our people are, one, safe and healthy, and secondly, can still deliver a level of service that our passengers expect.
And Oman Airports is state-owned, owned by the Omani government. Have you
Yeah,
had much help from them in terms of aid?
there's been there's been no state aid given to Oman Airports or Oman Air so far. There has been support in other ways in terms of helping to facilitate discussions with the regulator that provides electricity to try and reduce costs. Also with the energy sector as well, with oil, to look at the price of Jetty 1 fuel so we can try and reduce the cost to the airlines. There's been a restructure put in place whereby the cargo and ground handling company that was separate has now come into Oman Airports responsibility, albeit they are individual autonomous companies, but under the auspices of Oman Airports. Catering as well as hospitality has now fallen under Oman Air. So there's been a delayering and a more structured position put in place in terms of the sector, which is I think is going to see good opportunities for cost savings and reductions in manpower in certain areas, but also an opportunity to be more efficient and slick when making commercial decisions. So that's the level of support we've been getting through the government ministries, whether that's Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course the Civil Aviation Authority.